Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's C-O-M-B-E-S-T, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?
I'm Egbert, the owner of this station. Check out my website at egbert.com. That's E-G-G-B-U-R-T, egbert.com. Now it's back to Brad and John. Check out their website at bjshow.co. The BJ Show? Come on, guys. Anyway, here's B and J.
John, you're going to be mad at me. You're really going to be mad at me.
Well, hey, you know what? People who were listening live online got to hear segment A. And you know what? That's a good incentive for people to listen online and not just wait till the podcast comes out, Brad. Not just wait till YouTube comes out.
I'm a guy who will freely admit when I screw up, which is 42 times a day on a good day, and I forgot to roll the recorder on our show.
Hey, it happens, Brad.
Yeah.
You know what? You could use some memory enhancement, or you could go to HIMS and HERS and get your meal enhancement and your semaglutide to lose some weight too, Brad.
You know, the HIMS and HERS guys, you heard the deal why he's like sort of in trouble now? Do you know?
Yeah, about the Israel-Hamas thing, right?
Yeah, he said, you know, when everybody else is saying, who's going to hire those college grads who are being arrested for protesting? He says, I hire all of them. And I'm going like, okay. And didn't his stock take a hit on that? Wasn't that the story that
It did. And did you see the piece that I texted you?
I did, yes.
Yeah. So, it made it all up and more yesterday, up 27 or 28% yesterday.
Right. You know what? And sort of interesting on that is that John is a stock market guru. He doesn't talk too much about this. But people sometimes invest smartly and sometimes invest with their heart, so to speak, not necessarily their brain. They buy stock. Matter of fact, what was if you go way back, was it the Fidelity guy that essentially said that you should buy stock that in companies that you like, that you do business with?
Yeah, Peter Lynch, I think.
Exactly.
I think that
Peter
was
Lynch.
one of his theories. He started the Fidelity Magellan Fund years ago.
Right. And his deal was that if you love a Starbucks coffee, buy the stock. If you loved,
which is so stupid, and you should be short Starbucks here. But go ahead, I'm interrupting.
Right. And if you love Trader Joe's, you should buy the stock. And if you loved flying on Boeing aircraft, you should buy the stock. That kind of stuff.
And you should buy a parachute if you love flying on Boeing planes. But go ahead, Ben.
Listen to John. Okay. I want to, we try to keep this show, for the most part, in the state of Missouri, and we try to be as local as we can. One of the things John talked about last break was the Cori Bush, Wesley Bell race, which is shaping up for the 1st Congressional District in the state of Missouri. But there are things, and I think yesterday was one of those examples, where I just say, OMG. And this Trump trial, if you're following the Trump trial, and once again, I know people are going to go, well, here's Brad. He's making excuses for Trump. He's being a Trumper. This trial is spinning out of control.
And what happened yesterday? I missed what happened yesterday.
Well, on the stand, it came out that, and this is what's interesting because, I'm a news junkie. I'm pressing buttons. Okay, I've heard that Mr. Cohen, what's his name? Michael Cohen, admitted he stole money from the Trump organization. And how he did this was on a couple of different things. He would be, and I understand this is very common practice with attorneys. Matter of fact, if you've ever listened to Eric Erickson, who comes on this very station from noon to 3, he's a political guy. He's an attorney. He talks about this, that he did campaign. He was very much involved with campaigns for quite a few candidates. And the candidates would pay him for quote-unquote legal services. Then he would turn around and provide them with legal services, but also provide them with other things, okay? So the story is yesterday that Michael Cohen is responsible for paying some companies that are involved with Trump's organization, and Trump would reimburse them. The Trump organization would reimburse them. So one example they gave was, and this is sort of interesting, the company, I believe, was called Red Finch, not Red Finn, but Red Finch.
I haven't heard this.
Well, and the guy, and Michael Cohen signed some kind of agreement with this guy from Red Finch, and the bill was for $50,000. So Cohen submits this bill to the Trump organization for $50,000, and the Trump organization pays Michael Cohen. But then Michael Cohen only pays Red Finch $20,000, and sort of bizarre
so
because
he got to keep it.
Well, he pays him $20,000 in cash in a paper bag that he took to the CEO's office, and he kept the rest. Now, what I've heard yesterday was, and maybe I didn't hear all the details, but I've heard three different numbers. The number I've heard twice is that essentially Cohen stole $30,000. Then there was another report I heard yesterday that Cohen stole $60,000, and then the report that was $80,000. Okay, but any way you slice it, he stole five-figure money from Donald Trump. Okay, now, once again, this guy is the prosecution's witness, and he is a convicted felon. He is a convicted perjurer. I mean, he got nailed. Didn't he get nailed for perjury to Congress or stuff like that?
Yeah. Will Scharf has laid out these in several interviews exactly what Cohen's legal issues are. Yeah.
And I mean, this would be like if you're on trial for, let's say you're on trial for cheating. Let's say you were supposed to be giving money to a charity, and instead of, somehow, let's say you owned a company, and you would say, well, if you people, for every extra hour of overtime you work, I'll donate that, match the grant to the XYZ Foundation, and you find out that the boss was pocketing the money. He really wasn't doing that. And somebody sues him, and they take him to trial, and the person that is being used by the prosecution is a convicted felon who essentially cooked the books on a different client. Wouldn't you go like, I don't know if this is the guy I want. I don't know if this is the guy I want to have be my prosecution
it's not a dream. Yeah, it's not a dream witness.
And the whole crazy thing about this is, and once again, I'm not an attorney, even though I try to play one from time to time, but I'm not an attorney. I don't play one on TV or radio. But I keep hearing the fact that they're not proving the case, that they're not because when you go into a trial situation, one of the things in the introductory statements, you have to say, I'm going to prove to you, this is a very crucial part of the whole jury trial, I'm going to prove to you that this guy did X, Y, and Z, and therefore my client is, should be compensated, with A, B, and C, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
okay.
It does.
Okay. Supposedly, they've never done this. And then the bizarre part of the thing yesterday is this Costello dude. You know about this story?
No, I don't.
Costello is a former, they all talk about, oh my God, the real good prosecutors are all the SDNY, the Southern District of New York, which essentially is Manhattan. And that's where Rudy Giuliani was a prosecutor. All the creme de la creme prosecutors end up in the Southern District of New York as far as the federal court system is concerned. This guy's a former SDNY prosecutor. And at one point in time, he was Michael Cohen's attorney, and Michael Cohen waived his client lawyer privileges. And this guy has been in Congress. He was in Congress last week telling the story that Michael Cohen said, quote, he has nothing on Trump. He has nothing on Trump. So yesterday they brought Costello in as a witness, and the Costello and this Costello dude and the judge have this throwdown in court where the judge clears the courtroom and goes sort of toe-to-toe with this Cohen guy, with the Costello guy, about you can't say that, and supposedly when things were going on in court, he was rolling his eyes and he was being disrespectful. And at one point during the trial, when he was on the stand testifying, somebody said that, and Costello, who is the witness, said, strike that, and the judge got, you can't say that, only the judge, that's me, can say strike this. And I'm going, God, this is turning into like this clown show.
Yeah.
And the crazy part of this is, how in the world, once again, this is a criminal trial. On a civil trial, you don't necessarily, and once again, I'm not an attorney, but this is what I think is correct. On a civil trial, you don't necessarily have to have everybody on board. But on a criminal trial, you have to have every single juror unanimous. It's like the O.J. trial. When O.J. was cleared of the murders that he committed. Did I just say that? Anyway,
which he did. Yeah, go ahead.
When he was cleared of the murders he committed, there was not one single person that didn't go along with the verdict. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been a verdict.
Yeah.
So, and this thing is like, and I think it's gotten to the point where most people, and even like you, and I'm not making fun of you, I'm just essentially saying this has gotten so, it's gotten to the white noise level where people they're just not hearing it anymore. Yep. And I think that it's sort of backfired on the Democrats, because I think even the staunchest Democrat, who would, in state of Missouri, if you were going to tell me this guy is Mr. Democrat, if you opened up the dictionary to Democrat Missouri, this guy's picture would be there. Who would that be, John?
Emmanuel Cleaver.
Okay, Emmanuel Cleaver, who is the mayor of Kansas City?
Former mayor, and
that's
now
right,
he's a congressman for
Kansas City.
Right,
that's right.
Yep.
I knew he was a mayor at one point in time in Kansas City. So, former mayor, and he is Mr. Democrat. Okay, I think even Emmanuel Cleaver, if you got him in a moment of honesty, he's going to toe the company line in public. But I think in a moment of honesty, you go, okay, Emmanuel, give me the scoop. Tell me how you really feel about this Trump trial. He'd probably go, well, it's all about the election. Because that's all it is. It's all about the election. And the crazy thing about this is that two things I don't understand. Why are they off on Wednesday? They never have court on Wednesday. Matter of fact, that was the infamous line. Let me see if I can find it real quick. That was one of my drops from last week. Where was it?
Yeah. Are you free on Wednesday?
Here we go.
I hear you're free on Wednesdays.
Yeah, that was Biden shooting,
so good.
Throwing shade, and John loves it when I say throwing shade on Trump. But the deal that I don't think got a lot of publicity, and we didn't talk about this at all on Friday nor yesterday, was that Trump's son, Barron, graduated from high school on Friday, and at one point in time, the judge was not going to let him off the trial for Biden's for Biden. That's wrong. For Barron's graduation ceremony, and they finally did. So last week they only have 3 days of trial. They had Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. This week they're going at it again. I think Costello's back on the stand again today. Tomorrow they're off. And now they're saying, well, they might get the closing arguments on Tuesday. And the reason not on Monday, because Monday's a holiday. So I don't know.
Well, and it does become, you use the phrase white noise. And I think that's what it is. And again, it's become a cliche at this point. But at a certain point, when you're prosecuting your political enemies, it reaches that point of it stops doing you any good, and then people either tune it out or they start getting sympathy for the person that's the target.
Well, the crazy thing about this is if you go in, and I probably know more about this than I should because I've done a lot of reading on it, the whole thing revolves around the fact that the payment to Stormy Daniels was essentially they cooked the books. But the part of this is sort of interesting is that they say, or what they're accusing him of, he paid it out of his personal funds, which, depending upon if you look at the machinations of how the payment was actually essentially given to, and that was the interesting thing. Costello said that in the congressional hearing that essentially Cohen did this on his own. He never consulted Trump. And the other crazy part about this is, which I find fascinating, you're looking at these guys, Michael Cohen is this big New York attorney, and he works for Trump and the whole bit. In order to pay Stormy Daniels $130,000, he had to get a home equity loan. Now, John, I mean, you could probably strike a check for $260,000 right now, right? I mean, you're a rich guy.
Well, just to put on my debit card. Yeah.
Right, put on your debit card. I mean, when you hear that this national figure, who's this prominent attorney, not so much anymore, but once upon a time a prominent attorney, has to go get a home equity loan for $130,000. I mean, rich people. I know rich people. I know rich people that, like you kid about that, I know rich people that could put that on their credit card.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, something doesn't add up there.
Right. The whole thing's just so weird. And the whole sad part of this is the debate, and I'm going to ask you, we'll move into this, and then next segment we will stay off the national stuff. But I'm going to ask you something very. This is John's got to put on his corporate spokesperson hat, his comms hat. Okay, the deal of last week, when we had the president say, let me play another one. I think this is another one.
I'll even do it twice.
There you go.
Well, make my day, pal.
When he does this, throat out and make my day. It's funny. I heard a guy at another station say, "Yeah, like nobody under 50 knows what that means, right?"
Yeah. We didn't. A lot of people didn't grow up with Dirty Harry or Charles Bronson or those guys.
Unless you're going back and watching old movies, most people nowadays. I think it's interesting. If I called my, you know what, I'm gonna do something I haven't done in a while. And I'm going to make a call here real. No, I'm going to call my youngest son. Well, you know what? Here, hold it. I've never called my oldest son before, have I? Have I?
I don't think so. No, not on the air.
Okay, hold on a minute. We'll do a real live test because I'm an old guy. This is my oldest son, and we'll call him and we'll see if he knows this. Now he's an interesting guy because he knows all sorts of crazy crap that most people don't. But he probably will know this. But let me see if I can just real quick and see what he says on this. Okay, I'm going to call him right here. Here's his number. Pull this up. Is that on? Here we go. Okay, here we go. This is my...
Hello?
Hey, we're on the air, so no potty mouth, okay? You there? You got me? You hear me?
Yep.
Okay, quick question for you. Go ahead, make my day. What's that from?
That's from Dirty Harry.
Okay, you do know it. Okay, your friends, the idea, we're talking about the fact that there are people that are of a certain age that don't know what that means. You think most of your friends would know that phrase as well, too?
I would think so, yeah.
Okay, so you and very close to being a 40-year-old kid, right? 40-year-old kid. My son, 40 in August, right? So you are well aware of the fact that "Go ahead and make my day" would be a Dirty Harry quote. And that movie came out, in the 60s or something like that? 70s?
I think the 70s, I believe.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so you know it. Everything going okay?
Yeah, it's going good.
Okay, weather down there, is it been really hot? You haven't had any of the stuff that hit Houston, did you?
It got pretty rowdy last week as far as thunderstorms and high winds, but pretty standard late spring, early summer, heavy thunderstorms here. It's starting to hit 90s and high humidity. So
yeah, you love it, right? Okay.
Yeah, I live by the Florida, die by the Florida. You know.
Yeah, I hear that. I won't hold you. Say hi to Jamie Farr. I love you. Talk to you later. Bye-bye. That's my son, Brett. Okay, he did know Dirty Harry. Now, but he's going to be 40. So that means he was born in 84. So, yeah, but I bet you if I called my youngest son, I bet you he would know what that was.
And Dirty Harry, I looked it up, came out in 1971. I didn't know it was that old.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that was the original one. And I think... And he says it in all the movies. I mean, in all the ones. Go ahead.
Yeah.
And the best one was the very first one where he's eating lunch at the diner. I mean, what a classic scene that is. He's munching on a hot dog or hamburger? You know what I'm talking about?
Something like I have seen it. I don't remember what it was.
Right. And the interesting thing was, I specifically have gone back and watched the replay of that scene, and if you know the scene, he's using a Smith & Wesson 44 Magnum, which only carries, I believe, 6 bullets, and at the very end of the thing, he's got a guy who he already shot with 1 bullet, but the guy's like, he shot him in the leg, and his classic thing is, okay, I have the Smith & Wesson 44 Magnum, the most powerful handgun in the world, and did I fire 5 shots or 6 shots? And he pulls back the hammer and points at the guy's head and pulls the trigger, click, and he just laughs. I'm thinking to myself, nowadays, can you imagine if a cop did that today? I mean,
oh, God.
He would be drawn and quartered. He would be hung in public. You know what I mean?
Hey, you know what I always say? Where have you gone, Bernard Getz? A nation turns its lonely eyes to you.
John's mixing some metaphors there.
I'm mixing metaphors today. It's a mixing kind of Tuesday.
We have to take a break.
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's C-O-M-B-E-S-T, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?